It was a bright, clear morning in New York City, and the world was about to change in a way no one could have imagined. On September 11, 2001, a series of shocking events unfolded that would forever change the course of history. That morning, people in New York City went about their day as usual, unaware that terror was about to strike in one of the most devastating ways. At 8:46 a.m., American Airlines Flight 11, a plane that had taken off from Boston, crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. The explosion sent flames and smoke pouring out, and panic immediately spread. People didn't know what was happening, and many thought it might have been a terrible accident. But then, just 17 minutes later, at 9:03 a.m., a second plane, United Airlines Flight 175, crashed into the South Tower. With two planes hitting the Twin Towers within minutes of each other, it became clear this was not an accident. This was an attack on America. As firefighters, police officers, and emergency workers rushed to help, chaos filled the streets. Many people trapped in the towers tried to escape, while others, unable to reach safety, called loved ones to say goodbye. The sight was both heartbreaking and terrifying. At 9:37 a.m., another plane, American Airlines Flight 77, crashed into the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. This attack added to the fear and confusion, as people across the country began to realize that this was a large-scale assault on multiple fronts. Back in New York, the Twin Towers, iconic symbols of the city's skyline, couldn't withstand the damage. At 9:59 a.m., the South Tower collapsed, sending dust and debris across the city and burying everything in its path. Then, at 10:28 a.m., the North Tower also collapsed. In less than 2 hours, both towers had fallen, leaving a cloud of dust and smoke, a landscape of destruction, and thousands of lives lost. More than 2,700 people in the towers and surrounding area died, including hundreds of firefighters and police officers who had rushed in to help. Meanwhile, a fourth plane, United Airlines Flight 93, had been hijacked. The passengers on board had heard about the other attacks and realized what was happening. They decided to fight back, preventing the hijackers from reaching their target, likely either the White House or the U.S. Capitol. Flight 93 ultimately crashed into a field in Pennsylvania, killing everyone on board but saving countless lives on the ground. The 9/11 attacks were carried out by 19 terrorists linked to the extremist group Al-Qaeda. They had planned the attacks to strike at symbols of American power, creating fear and chaos across the nation. Their actions succeeded in bringing the world's attention to terrorism and started a global fight against extremist groups. In response, the United States launched the War on Terror, a series of actions aimed at dismantling terrorist networks. Within a month, U.S. forces were in Afghanistan, aiming to remove the Taliban regime that had provided a safe haven for Al-Qaeda and its leader, Osama bin Laden. September 11th changed America and the world. It led to tighter security measures, especially at airports, as the country sought to protect itself from similar attacks. The Patriot Act, passed soon after, expanded the government's powers to monitor and investigate potential threats. Each year, people in the U.S. and around the world remember the victims of 9/11 with ceremonies, moments of silence, and tributes. The site where the Twin Towers once stood is now home to the National September 11th Memorial and Museum, where two reflecting pools mark the footprints of the towers. The memory of that day lives on, serving as a reminder of the bravery shown by the first responders, the unity that followed among Americans, and the resilience of a nation that vowed never to forget.